Almost every single video game and anime live action sucks, so it is impressive when a movie decides to embrace the aesthetics of those mediums and makes them work. Recently, other adaptations have also tried to, well, adapt the language of anime into live action. For example, Netflix One Piece simulates the tight shots and dynamic angles common in its anime by overusing close-ups with wide angles. It sometimes works, although most of the time the results are just ugly. So what if instead of overusing the same cliches, a talented director actually understood the aesthetics of retro video games and the dynamism of anime and applied them with a lot of imagination? For that, let's take a look and analyze what makes the visuals of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World so great.
Wow.
First, we have the onomatopoeias and SFX superimposed on the screen. From those comic book origins, speed lines emerge to emphasize the velocity of the characters and camera movements. Kick in the face with the eruption of impact frames. Those are flashes of light usually implemented in animation to accentuate an attack's collision. However, in Scott Pilgrim, they are also utilized to transition in and out of small animations.
I'm gonna pee on her.
If we combine a bunch of these techniques and add some artificial smearing to emphasize motion, we get a sequence that looks like anime in real life. But director Edgar Wright shines when he uses the image as a canvas for creative and entertaining narration. Instead of making the actors express their opinions out loud in the face of unavoidable exposition, Wright makes his actors stand still, turns off the lights on set, and uses the shadows to illustrate the voiceover narration.
3 hours before his big breakup, he's been cutting his own hair ever since.
That's a much better way of delivering exposition that doesn't feel like exposition.
It was brutal.
But let's take it one step further.
Oh shit.
Again, lights go out on set, but now, on the negative space, Envy superimposes herself. As the soft lighting and the camera move to the right, she vanishes to reveal the memories of their past. The pictures even illustrate, without words, their breakup. Envy moves on with her life. Scott remains behind and heartbroken. To finish the sequence, Envy again fills the negative space, leaving no wasted space on the frame, but also avoid saturation. The best way to illustrate the strange of this directing is by comparing it to other movies and TV shows that failed, where Scott Pilgrim succeeded. Speed Racer is a very ambitious movie, but with some exceptions, most of its staging fails in execution. In this scene, the woman superimposes her reaction on the frame, but chokes the relationship between the two subjects and the object of the image. This could have been two separate reaction shots and the movie wouldn't lose anything. Meanwhile, Scott Pilgrim envelops the character's dynamics like this.
This is a nightmare.
Even though Scott Pilgrim is an over-the-top story, Edgar Wright knows when restraint is beneficial for the narrative. In contrast, Speed Racer is always saturated. It leads to issues like full CGI scenes that are hard to discern. The closest moment in Scott Pilgrim to oversaturation is this one, but even this shot only lasts for 2 seconds, making it work as a transition. And pacing is another key difference. In Speed Racer, this transition takes 4 seconds from beginning to end. A couple seconds more may not sound like a big deal, but in both comedy and action, a few seconds more can make the difference between fluent
He has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone.
and awkward.
Connection. Building bridges. That's how he's gonna be the Avatar.
When the pacing issues combine with bad directing, it creates a situation of overwhelming visual information, poor lighting, and slow transitions. As a result, the actors' faces are not even properly neat. In comparison, in Scott Pilgrim, a scene moves between 5 locations in 10 seconds. However, screen direction is always the same to keep continuity, and the actor's blocking is always parallel to the camera, making it easier to peruse. But okay, I don't even hate Speed Racer, it is just too damn long. So, let's use another example. In the Cowboy Bebop live action, the character running while they remain in a fixed position looks slow and awkward, but it is shot almost the same as in the original animation. So what changed? Well, the background. In the animation, the background text races through the screen. In the live action, the background text lingers in its clumsiness. That's a big issue when the only point of reference for the character's movement is the background. But Scott Pilgrim has a better approach. Besides the insert shots of the skate, the lampposts in the background help convey speed. Through this scenery, energy manifests with an interactive element like the lighting bouncing off Lucas Lee's face, giving the scene more impact. Combining the out-of-focus background with the speed lines is a recurring technique for the action scenes. It's important to clarify that much of what makes the visuals in Scott Pilgrim so great is not a result of an extravagant budget, but of Edward Wright and a talented crew working on this movie. So maybe some full CGI objects are not particularly impressive, but they are incorporated so well that they don't become distracting. Honestly, the density of effects is impressive at times. Here, a quick strike moves with a zoom and the out-of-focus background for a collision that uses the lights on set and added the sparks to give way to the attack. All that in just 2 seconds of the movie. Of course, we can't forget the practical effects. Some are simple, yet immersive, like using a windblower. Others are complicated, yet subtle, like changing the entire set undetected. But sometimes, all we need are great stunt performers.
He just left.
I don't want to discredit the work of the CGI artists behind the production, but the visuals in this movie are often at their best when it combines real practical effects with VFX. And when an action scene combines every technique mentioned in tandem, this is the result. A series of impact frames use the lights on set to convey the power of a punch. In response, wires and a hidden blue screen pull Matthew away from Scott. Later, speed lines combined with a zoom out, and as it loses focus, it introduces a stuntman to do the kick. A hyper jump follows, sneering, and the lights in the background evoke the dragon punch. By the end of the fight, the sequence repeats, but now it concludes with an impact frame that generates a silhouette of Matthew Patel. The same kind of silhouette reemerges to disintegrate Matthew into coins, creating a smooth transition between the wonders of CGI and real photography. And that's the visual magic of Scott Pilgrim versus the world.